Hello and welcome back to the NHL Best Bets. Today we picked two games and unfortunately only one was played, and even more unfortunate was that the pick wasn't correct. So LA Kings visited Vegas, so they played second game in Las Vegas. Game ended 4-2 for Kings, and they took a great road victory against a better team, and our under 5.5 goals was barely over, so 6 goals this time, and missed pick. And like I said, Calgary and Vancouver didn't met because of the COVID protocol for the Vancouver, so that game was postponed. Tommy, what's your opinion of the performance of the Vegas last night?
I do blame Shea Theodore for scoring that third period goal for nothing for Vegas. A little bit slow start for the home team here. We definitely didn't expect them to allow 4 goals by the Kings. So I would say this was a bad start. And then Vegas never got into the game that they could have taken the victory and kept the game under. So Kings took a nice win. Scored 4 goals in 2 periods, of course, against a team of Vegas caliber. It's a great performance, so can't complain. But of course, 1 goal only the difference to the under. So with these amounts of shots, that's not gonna happen. So we were expecting a lot more defensive game, but it turned bad in the beginning when a better team had to chase the game. So it ended up going 1 goal over. But as I've mentioned many times before, I would make this bet 100 times out of 100 times with these odds, because we only need a couple of more than 50% to make a profit from this.
How about other games last night? We discussed a few of those. Colorado trashed Arizona at home 9-3, and then Toronto won Winnipeg on the road 3-1. So I think these both went as Machine predicted from the value point of view.
Yeah, those were correct games. Of course, Colorado a lot better team. Like we keep drumming their drum here. Colorado created so many chances that they could have actually scored more goals than that 9, but it's a good result. Jonas Donskoi, a Finnish guy, scored a hat-trick, which is very good for him. He's been excellent this season, and Colorado has now shown that they also have potential to score from the lower lines. They're not a one-line team like they have been maybe a little bit in the past. So I do think they are a legit contender this time around. And Winnipeg was a little bit underwhelming at home against Toronto, but we did expect Toronto to do better. We did have value there as well. And of course, need to be mentioned, we did have Los Angeles Kings as the underdog to win this game, not by money line, but by the side value. So plus 206 odds, they're correct.
Yeah, sometimes those underdogs make good profit for you, but of course that doesn't happen every other game. But it's not enough. It's enough when it happens. Let's say 2 out of 5, and you have good odds. So that's the way to make money.
Yeah, you definitely take plus 206 rather than Colorado's plus 33 in this case.
And then one more interesting game. Buffalo finally won against Philadelphia at home 6-1. Was that some kind of a ketchup bottle cork that popped open, and now Buffalo will start their winning streak?
Maybe they're gonna do like San Luis Blues, that you have to go very deep before you can climb up and win the Stanley Cup. But no, I don't think they will. But they, like I've been saying, they are a better team. They are an NHL caliber team. there is good players, but when things start snowballing and going bad, it's really hard to stop when the games are coming so fast. So it was a lucky break for them that they got to play Philadelphia Flyers, who are struggling as well. Nothing really went their way in that game either. So already the previous one was so close for Buffalo, and now they managed to turn it. The number 6-1, maybe not exactly reflecting the game, but a good win for Buffalo anyway. And there is a lot of trouble in Philadelphia. They can't find the goaltending, and of course their defense is not helping a lot. So I do think that Flyers are need to find a way to get back to their sort of basic way of playing. So play through the defense, start from there, and then move on, because now it looks really bad. They look like Buffalo did when they were at their worst.
Yeah, let's see how the Buffalo plays tonight when they continue their homestand. Now it's New York Rangers who is visiting in northern New York State. But let's go first through the picks, what we gonna make for tonight's game. 1st of April, new month, new picks. Washington continues their road trip in New York. They played against Rangers and lost a few nights ago. Now Islanders is hosting them, and Islanders has also 2 losses in a row in their last result column, and they lost in Pittsburgh those 2 games, and now coming back to home. They have been strong team during the last 3 seasons. The overall win percentage at home is somewhere 54 for Islanders, but the return game from the road trip has been almost 59% win percentage. So that backs up the selection of the home team with the reasonable odds, minus 119 here. And another game, if Vegas played a bit Medicore game last night, tonight they have chances to raise the performance and raise the bar and score more than they did last night. And Minnesota travels from San Jose to Vegas. They have back-to-back game with the travel, so our expectation is Cam Talbot will play there as goalie, and their defense may not be the level that can take Vegas pounding from the first period onwards.
Yeah, let's go first to the Eastern Division matchup. 2 top teams there. I think Islanders now the third actually by points. Washington leading that division. Very close matchup by all means. Washington a little bit underwhelming in their loss to Rangers last time. But like we said before that game, they are this sort of fluctuating team because of they don't necessarily need to be the winners of the regular season. Their aim is a lot higher. Their aim is in the playoffs. So there will be these periods that they are playing subpar and they're not as good as they can be. And on the other hand, New York Islanders, they haven't won anything yet, but they have Barry Trotz there, who will definitely, after 2 losses in Pittsburgh, very close ones, both of those low-scoring games, and a lot of grinding, like New York Islanders style. So I do think that when they return home, they are prepared for Washington, and they will show that they are a true contender as well. Their game has been pretty solid throughout the season. Not a lot of bad stretches. They did lose, I think, 4 in a row back in January, but after that, 2 losses is the maximum they've taken in a row, even with this packed schedule. So I do think that the third game now will be victorious for them. And then going to the West with these 2 great teams that we've been expecting a lot from, Minnesota and Vegas, of course, one of the top teams. They usually are quite under-like teams, so usually we would go for the under. This time, Minnesota coming from San Jose, 2 games, both went over. Little bit tiredness maybe in the defense, especially for Wild. They can counterattack pretty fast, so they are able to score maybe 2 to 3 goals. But Vegas last night, so disappointing to only score 2 goals against Kings. They shot 42 times on goal. If they keep that up, they will score up to 5 goals in this game. So this is a great over opportunity with these sort of odds for plus over 5.5 goals. In the simulations, 56% go over, so it is a great value.
About then two teams in Florida, they both host maybe a bit lower class opponent tonight. Columbus continues their trip in Tampa, and Detroit plays against Florida. So do you think these home teams will cruise to easy victories?
Yeah, I do think so. They are so much better teams than their opponents. So the simulations have both of them winning about 75% of the games, which is a very high percentage, of course, for the simulations. The odds are around the same level, minus 245 for Tampa Bay and for Florida. But like we've seen this season, these are not surefire games. There is value, but very carefully placing the bets. And if you pick two of them in the same bet, it's very likely that you will lose one or the other.
Yeah, that's true. And even though Florida and Tampa are much better teams, we don't need to go too far back when we see the record that they lost against these particular teams. So that's something to keep in mind when you are betting teams with minus 250 odds. Then a few other interesting games. Pittsburgh visits Boston. I think bookmakers think home team is the favorite, but our machine has a different opinion. Do you think these last two games when Pittsburgh won against Washington give so much indication for the simulations that it's some kind of misleading result as a road victory prediction?
I don't think there is some sort of sense to it because Penguins played really well against Islanders. Boston has struggled a bit. They were not as good as usual against the Devils. Also, Boston may be suffering from the injuries. They are likely to start Dan Vladar in the goal. He performed all right against Penguins last time around, but still he's not an established NHL goaltender. So one of the reasons why Pittsburgh Penguins is favored here by the simulations is probably the goaltending situation. Casey DeSmith playing for Pittsburgh Penguins. He has played as a regular NHL goaltender should. So even if Tristan Jarry is out, Penguins will not go down because of the goaltending. Also have to be said, Penguins got them back from their slump due to injuries, so they actually do have now pretty much a full squad of NHL players. Of course, still a couple of guys off, but that's only normal for the Penguins, and they do seem to do better when the star players or when their regular players are out, and there is pretty unknown guys doing the work for the Penguins. So I see they're a good value as well. Simulations 56% for the Penguins on the road with a positive odds. So I do think this could be a Penguins game.
How about when we take a look to total predictions? Is there some games that pop up and provide good value for total bets?
Yeah, there is in Canada one of the divisions that we've been actually doing very well in this regard. We have Ottawa hosting Montreal. We have been playing against Montreal, so let's not do that again. But for the under, Philip Gustafsson likely in goal for Ottawa, the guy who established himself when the number one and number two keepers were out. So if he is able to play again really well. Ottawa is playing well defensively when he's in the goal. So I do think that Montreal has a similar sort of approach to the game. So they're not an all-out attack team by any means. Carey Price or Jake Allen for Montreal in the goal, likely to keep the score pretty low. So under 6 goals, actually the line is quite high. In the simulations, that happens with a 64% probability. So great chance for taking the under if you like those bets.
Yeah, it looks to be some kind of goalie roulette in Ottawa because they have 4 goalies that have started game and 5th one that has entered the game. So 5 goalies have recorded at least one save during this season, and naturally we know that it is not the best situation where a team can be.
Yeah, and it's rather surprising that everyone was expecting Matt Murray, two-time Stanley Cup winner from Pittsburgh Penguins, to be the guy who will guide and help Ottawa to reach the playoffs or at least challenge for it. But it has been the other guy from Pittsburgh Penguins, Philip Gustafsson, who actually has at least in the past couple of weeks played better and maybe even challenging for the number 1 spot. Of course, Matt Murray still, when fit, will take the goaltender number 1 spot in Ottawa.
How about then a few Finnish goaltenders for home teams? Chicago hosts Carolina, Kevin Lankinen most probably in Chicago's goal, and then Nashville hosts Dallas and Juuso Saros as a goaltender there. Do you think these home team goalkeepers can keep visitors off the scoring column?
Personally, I do think so, but the simulations do not agree with me. It's actually quite surprising. Chicago-Carolina game in the simulations is going quite clearly over. I do think that that's mostly due to Carolina's prowess in the offense and especially their power play has been excellent. So in these games, 61% over 5.5 goals. So a lot of goals expected, of course. Depending a little bit how Chicago will approach this game, if they start by going to match Carolina's style of play and play very fast-paced hockey, it might go over quite easily. But if Chicago will decide to try and shut off Carolina, they might be successful, and then a low-scoring game is expected. But like I said, simulations definitely think that it's going to be a lot of goals, and it is also very close to exactly what the odds are indicating. So Carolina is a slight favorite with about 58% and Chicago 42%. And in Nashville, it's there is no bets for over or under goals. 3 goals for Dallas and 2.5 goals for Nashville. So it is exactly 5.5 there. I do think that Juuso Saros is the guy who will keep Nashville in the game if possible, but Dallas is the favorites by the simulations for about 60%. So Dallas is expected to win, but we've seen very different games from Dallas this season. They can be Stanley Cup contenders or they can be like the bottom of their division. So it's hard to say what kind of team is coming out. Nashville now played a lot better than early in the season, but how much of that is actually their true level or how much is just a fluke? So remains to be seen. Simulations do think that Dallas is a better team.
If we take a look at statistics, Nashville has won 8 out of last 9 games, and then from the Dallas, the similar kind of record from the last games is that they have won only 2 out of the last 9 games. So trends are backing him home team Nashville here, but maybe simulation machine has something that we don't, and we'll see that tomorrow when we follow this and all the other games very detailed.
That is very often the case, that the simulations know something we don't.
But tomorrow we know what we know.